Welcome back, everyone. I'm Tom Murphy, and this is our second segment of Trinidad Now with Tony Mattorano. Tony, thank you for joining me. As we went through these before, we're going to talk about economic development. The first issue: what are the what are the most pressing issues facing Trinidad?
Oh, pressing issues. I don't really know if Trinidad has a pressing issue, to be honest with you, except for maybe the panhandlers and transits.
Okay.
That's a big issue that we're going to be facing to try to figure out what we're going to do with it. Other than that, as far as employees at the city, having direction, having some department heads, to have more of an idea to set up a plan of how we're going to take care of this old infrastructure, that kind of stuff, instead of it just blowing up and then having to fix it. You know, I think we need to have a plan of how to fix that stuff beforehand. It's cheaper that way.
Right, right. Okay, so if you could do like Back to the Future, like Michael Fox, and you fast forwarded to 4 years from now, what would be happening in Trinidad that's different from today? What would be going on that you would like to see?
Well, I really would like to see a new industry. I'm looking at the mom and pop type industry. I'm looking at the anywhere from 12 to 25 employee type industries. Maybe we could get up to that 50. You know, I think with the type of money that we would be receiving from the marijuana would give us some incentives to be able to bring people in. Okay, I think that's really important. But we need to work at it. We need to figure out how we're going to get that done. And I think in 4 years from now, if we do that, because I think in 4 years to 5 years, I think a lot of our marijuana money is going to go away. And if we could build something on the other side of that with that money, it'd be a win-win situation. And I think we could have a real strong economy that way. And that's what I'm after. I'm after trying to build, you know, for some reason, Trinidad and Los Animas County has always put their eggs all in one basket. And then when that basket's gone, we lose employees, we lose jobs, and we're struggling again. I don't want to get that way. I don't want to be that way. When I leave the workforce, when I retire, I want to leave something that our young people are going to be able to grab a hold of and keep going.
Right. Retire for the umpteenth time, I think, and listening to you.
This will be, if I retire again, it'll be my third time.
That's fantastic. Tony, how familiar are you with the city budget, and what are the city's main revenue sources and expenditures? And again, I'm trying to be fair to everybody, so even though you haven't been there, if you know, fine. If you don't, it's also okay.
Well, you know, I've been around the city a long time. You know, you hear a lot of different things. You know, city's main source of revenue is from sales tax. Okay, that's their main source. What are we going to do if we need more? Well, now they have this marijuana, so they have more. Okay, so that's another revenue that could be there for another 5, 6 years, maybe even longer. I don't know. You know, but we need to get quality people as part of our staff. Okay, we're talking about accountants. What was her name? She was a black neck. That was the accountant at the city.
Oh, Carol Blatnick.
Carol. She's not there anymore.
Right.
I don't understand why we don't have, because there's a lot of knowledge that when she left was not taken up by somebody else. In other words, we need to cross-train people to take over when somebody leaves. like when Jim Fernandez left, we should have had somebody already mentored and take over that position and get the credentials and learn how to manage them departments. Same way with the gas. I mean, the power and light, same thing with all departments. Every situation that we have, we should have cross references. We should make them take tests to increase their knowledge in what they're doing. And as they do that, they should be getting more money. Hey. So we need to do things in a way to make us be more efficient in what we're doing. Because when you're more efficient, you save money, and you're going to do a lot more things.
Okay. You started to answer this in this question, but let me ask this. I want to read this, so I ask everybody the same. Industry recruitment is very difficult for rural communities, especially ones where healthcare, education, and workforce development systems are below par. And you would kind of address this. What type of business would you like to attract with manufacturing and whatnot?
Well, what you want is, because our workforce is limited right now, that doesn't mean we can't have more workforce. I think there's a lot of people in Pueblo, Colorado Springs, Denver would love to come back to Trinidad, okay, if there was jobs. Okay, so workforce could come back.
Right.
Okay. Right at the moment, I would say more blue-collar type work. I think that economy is more of a stable economy. But it would be nice to have state-of-the-art electrical type companies, computers, communication type companies, a lot of different things. But I think if we could just get some small manufacturing companies of any sort that we could put out there, I think it would really help out. And I'm not looking at anything between 20 and 50 employees is
right.
what I would be looking for, because we would be able to afford the incentives for them type of people.
Here's a question, and this, you're either the first or second person I've thought about this as you're answering questions. If the marijuana business is going to take off in other states, why haven't we utilized getting the junior college to start a program, just like the Moulters did with heavy equipment when gas was here and doing well? Why not have a program like Pueblo has, and theirs more is the study, but why not teach people how to grow it with a junior college?
To grow the industry?
I know, to teach people how to grow, because it's quite the science in growing a marijuana plant.
Right.
Why not? Why, as you're talking, I'm thinking, why not? I may have brought this up with somebody, but I've done so many interviews, I can't remember.
Well, I'm going to say probably the reason why it's not mentioned or even brought up is because I use this word derogatory, okay? And somehow or another we need to get past that.
Right.
Okay. And I think that's the reason why a lot of this stuff, it's just like, for instance, hemp, okay? Nobody wants to talk about hemp, okay? That's another industry.
Right.
Okay. Could bring lots of revenue into it. And there's no marijuana in that. There's no high from that. It just makes a lot of good food for a lot of animals. You could do a lot of things with it.
Right.
Okay,
it also cleans the soil, toxic soil.
I mean, there's a lot of things that it does. But because of marijuana, a lot of people have a stigma up here,
right,
thinking that it's part of the marijuana. And that's why a lot of times people don't venture out and they
right,
don't do it.
I just know a lot of the growers. It's why don't we facilitate that this is the place, just like we have the gunsmithing school.
The one of the best.
Why don't we facilitate, if it's going to grow in all these other states, why aren't we the place that will bring students in, because students spend money, and grow the college. I forget if I've talked to somebody else about this, but it just seems like we would be natural, because our enrollment, from what I understand, is down at the college. Teach these kids, because this is going to be an industry throughout the country. But I'm getting a little bit off the rails here.
All right.
And I want to bring us back. But so otherwise, we're going to sit here all afternoon.
Right.
Okay. So let me go back to a shot on you. But so the next question is, the growth in the tourism economy has been outstanding over the last 2 years. Do you support this new tourism economy, and what will you do to continue to promote the tourism economy?
Well, number one, you got to keep your town clean. Okay, you, the employees that we have, the way I understand it, and I'm not real sure about this, but we're short in a lot of different departments. We're short of employees, but we have to keep our community looking clean.
Right.
You know, when I go to a place other than Trinidad and I start looking around, you look, you know, you want to look, you want your place to look good.
Right.
You know, I think there should be, I don't know, maybe even classes for people to how you talk to tourism and people that come to our community, and being friendly and nice to them, and not being ugly with them. You know, I get people in my restaurant. We get a lot of people from off of the interstate because I have a social media company that takes care of all that, and social media is everything anymore. And I'm gonna tell you what, people just love this community. They love it, and we need to keep them loving it. We just got to keep doing the right things, and so we want to continue to do that. So the tourism board needs to continue to get support and talk about new and exciting things for them to do. Okay, and that's kind of where I would be with that.
Okay. Tony, the city created an economic development department 2 years ago. What ideas would you have for economic development? I've kind of really asked that one. I think we're okay with the questions that you've given.
Okay.
I just, as I'm writing all these down, you realize that you're asking sometimes the same question just a different way. I think I'm okay with what you've
Okay.
already answered about that. All right, but this one, because this one, some people agree with some things and some people don't. Last year, the city economic development focus was on stabilizing our downtown to create an attractive atmosphere for commercial businesses, rental assistant, facade redevelopment grants, Main Street patios, the entertainment district that was utilized by the Blues Fest the night before. What do you think about those things that they've done?
Well, I don't know. Some of them things I don't think were thought completely through. I think there was probably, and I'm not against any of them, what they did or anything like that, but I just, sometimes when you're old-fashioned like me, you want to, I'm a little more conservative, and I don't like spending money that doesn't bring money back in, you know, and so, and I, you know, just like them little corrals that they have out there in front of these bars and stuff like that, you know, I don't know if it's doing that much good for them, to be honest with you. I think if you would ask them, they would say, yeah, it's doing really good. But I bet if you took a number, I bet you they're not doing as well as they thought they were going to do with these things.
Right.
You know? But I think that that we all have to do a lot of things to learn from it, because we're brand new at this.
Right.
And so tourism is not one of Trinidad's quote things. You know, we would like it to be another Taos or Santa Fe. It would be great.
Right.
You know? But we're gonna go over some loops and hills before we really get it down till we find something that people want to come to Trinidad for. Okay, right now it's marijuana.
Right.
Okay, we're getting a lot of tourism because of that marijuana. So we need to find something else that people are going to want to come to Trinidad for.
Right.
And you know, it's a beautiful city, and keeping the fronts, keeping Trinidad what it is, and people, because I watch people when I'm going down the street, and I watch some of these people walking, and they're looking at the sides of the buildings, and they're amused. They like what they see, you know.
Right. So in 2015, the vacancy in the business buildings downtown was 61%. In 2017, it's 29%. What would you attribute that to?
I would have to say marijuana.
Right. Well, I think we got, and I've done this with other people. I think we got to give a big shout out to the guy that saved my wife, and that's Jay Shimino. I mean, he's invested $30 million as of almost a year ago,
Well, you don't have
and
to tell me.
investing more.
You don't have to tell me about Jay. Jay and I've known Jay for a long, long time. His wife and my wife are cousins, and so we know the family pretty well. Jay's a good man. He likes spending money, thank God.
Yeah.
He's done there's not another hometown person that's ever came to Trinidad and spent that kind of money. Never.
No.
The only other guy than him is Franklin Azar, and Franklin has spent quite a bit of money in this town.
Right.
And I think that's kind of neat. I really do. I think, every time I see Jay, I thank him for what he's done.
Right.
He wants me to put my restaurant in one of his buildings, but it just so far it hasn't worked out yet.
All right. And this is another question we've talked about earlier, and specifics you may not know about, but where should the marijuana money be spent?
Well, I think that needs, like I said earlier, I think 50% of the marijuana money needs to go into economic development. I think we need to get back into building an economy that's second to none. And Trinidad can do that because we're that kind of people. We can make it work. The other 50%, I think, needs to go into recreation, and also we need a hospital really bad. Okay, our schools need money. So I think there's got to be some money split up here someplace, And I've always said that if the hospital really would do something that I've always said they should do, if they would become to where city council appoints the board and the county commissioners appoint the board, I think the people of this community will feel ownership. They would feel that it belongs to them. And I think they would support just about anything they would need. And
they've announced plans. They are going to be remodeling. It's in the works.
Okay,
so.
but they would get more support
Right.
from the community if it would become part of the community.
When I started filming government, that's when it really exploded over their closed meetings.
Yeah.
And I did film them for a while, but there's only so much I could do. And I just, as the paper wound down, it was just like, no. But I think they are moving forward and doing some good things.
Yeah.
But I agree. And they used to have a board that was exactly like that. There was appointments from all these different organizations.
I think the city and county. I was a county commissioner when we turned that over to them.
Right.
That property belonged to the county, so that we gave them a 99-year lease on it.
Right.
Okay.
Tony, next question, and as I explained earlier, but I want Everett to read it the same ones. I might have missed one or two of some people, but water losses are 40% from the water treatment plant to delivery. What plans are in place now to repair, and how can we not fall behind again?
Well, there again, I talked about that earlier. Having good, efficient department heads, taking every dime, every penny that they get on their revenue from the water service, not taking it and using it for no place else. Taking that money, get somebody that can figure it out as far as dollar-wise, and make sure your employees are paid properly. Then you have a portion to replace infrastructure. And they should be doing that every year. There should be a portion of that taken care of. That way we don't lose that 40%. Okay. If you don't have somebody doing it, it'll never get done.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to have somebody doing it. You have to have another Jim Fernandez there.
Okay. And a real hot button issue for a lot of lifelong residents of Trinidad is, what's your solution for Monument Lake?
I love Monument Lake. I think it's a great place, and I just can't believe how City of Trinidad became the ownership of Monument Lake. I thought that them people back then, I thought that was pretty dang cool, you know, for them to do something like that. And the dream that they probably had, I don't know for sure. If I'd probably have to go back into the minutes and try to find out what they were thinking and what they were expecting. But I would like to keep it. I wouldn't want to sell it. I think it's something that belonged to the city for so long. But it's just like anything else. When you have a community center like we have over here at the south side, it costs money to keep that thing. It's not cheap.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to figure out a way that it'll bring revenue to offset the cost. Okay, and I think that's, and if you could do that, I think you're going to figure out a way to keep it up and to keep it going.
Okay. Last meeting, or last question in this segment. You were a county commissioner, and it was before I started doing stuff with the newspaper and filming. They had a bunch of joint meetings, and I'm not too sure that there were many successes. Would you continue to try to work with the county so that the city and county might, you know, jointly get some things working together?
When I became county commissioner, one of the big issues that we had was a jail facility. The past commissioners tried to build a jail facility. I think it was twice, and they failed twice. They were going for a bond issued once, and I don't know what else. I think it was bond issued twice, and they failed. They couldn't get it done. And what people don't realize is that the city of Trinidad belongs to the county. It's part of their revenue. Every tax that you pay, as far as Evalorn taxes, goes to the county. That's where they make their money. And the most of it comes right now from this part of the city itself. Okay? So this county is actually obligated in a way to help every resident in the city. But what happens, there's people, for some crazy reason, I don't know if it's prestige or power or what it is, it's a very difficult thing. So when I became county commissioner, I went down, talked to Lou Gerardo, and I told Lou, I says, we need a jail, don't we? And he says, yeah. I said, if we don't get this jail, what's going to happen? He says, well, the federal government's going to come in and put a tax on everything that's sold here, and they're going to build it themselves. I said, well, let's get it done. And he says, well, how are we going to get it done? And I says, well, this is the way we're going to get it done. I want 2 people from the city council, the most influential people from city council. I don't want nobody else. I want district judge, county judge. I want ambulance department. I want the police chief, sheriff department. Of course, I was talking to him.
Right.
And I says, and all 3 commissioners. I said, we had this meeting together. I says, this committee is the one that's going to build that jail. He says, really? And I says, yeah. And that's what we did. We had several meetings. Every time we would have a meeting, Mr. Sayers would get up and he says, you know, you guys don't take care of your part of the business. I said, what are you talking about? He says, you don't support economic development. You don't support crossroads management. And oh, he'd go on and on. And I says, Mr. Sayers, I says, if you look at our new budget, it does address them. And so we'd cool down for a little bit. We'd go on and talk about it. So I bet you we had 3 months of meetings. And finally, I had to pass the message across to the city. And I told Mr. Sayers, I said, Mr. Sayers, I'm going to tell you something. And Gene Aiello was there. And I said, I'm going to tell you guys something. If you guys are not on board with this sales tax that we're going to put up for that jail facility, it will never pass. it will not pass. Without the city involved in this community and building this jail, it will not happen. Now I'm going to ask you the question, are you in or are you out? And he looks at Mr. Ayala and he says, we're in. And we have the jail. Okay.
Right.
So with city and county working together can make things happen.
Right.
And they can do a lot of things.
So let me ask a follow-up question on this. And I don't know that I've asked anybody else this, but and I think maybe I did. But all right, so are you going to support the 1 cent sales tax that the county's putting on?
Absolutely.
Okay. Interesting.
Absolutely.
That's interesting because of your background in that. Interesting answer. Okay. We're going to take another break.
Okay.
And we'll be back. Everyone, I'm Tom Murphy, and this is Trinidad Now on Trinidad Times Television. We'll be right back.